What is Gucci YouTube? It's your boy Black Child, 3 long face, skinny body. We are back still black with some more Boruto fire anime manga content for the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smash the like button, share the video with your friends. We got an important announcement.
9 mountains and 8 seas make one world. 1,000 worlds make one chiliocosm. 1 chiliocosm to the power of 3, and there's nothing I can't cut.
So as per the recording of this video, we have officially 2 episodes left in the Sasuke Resident arc. The latest Boruto episode out right now is episode 284. Now, that whole arc in its own is doing its own thing. I'm really enjoying it in terms of the times I have talked about it on the channel since it started around episode 282. All of that aside, though, we officially have the provisional titles for Boruto episode, just to make sure I know what I'm saying, Boruto episode 287 all the way up until Boruto episode 289, and it will be the official start, episode 287 of the Code arc. Now, those of y'all who stay tuned with the channel, y'all know in one of my previous videos I talked about Boruto anime having to adapt chapter 55 through 58 essentially within this next anime canon episode, manga canon anime episode, because of the mere facts that they took scenes from chapter 58, right, and adapted it, which is basically like a turning point in the story, but left out a good chunk of scenes from chapter 56 and 57, but also taking in scenes from, 56 and 57, but ultimately making like the last canon manga episode a blend basically between chapter 55 all the way up until 58. So the meat or the context of the real juicy shit that's going to be going down in the next things that are happening in the anime, essentially, that already took place in the manga. So just based off of the titles, we have Boruto episode 287, Claw Marks, coming out February 12th, episode 288, Captives, 219, and then episode 289, Qualification, coming out February 26th. Now, essentially what we're going to do is just based off of the things we understand that went down in the manga, just to give you guys a good idea of what to expect each episode, right? So this is without the episode synopsis. Claw Marks title episode 287, where we were left off last in the Boruto anime with Code's character. We left off in the middle of his conversation with Ishiki Otsutsuki. So essentially in the manga, we got to a point where in the same chapter where Boruto, Naruto, Sasuke, and Kawaki were making their way back home to the Hidden Leaf after defeating Ishiki, in that exact same chapter, we get to see Code have his conversation with Ishiki, which we do essentially in the anime episode as well. But however, in the manga version, Ishiki doubles down. Their conversation is much longer. And then we also have the introduction of the Otsutsuki God, essentially, in that chapter, along with Boruto's official dojutsu, not debuted on Boruto himself, but on said this Otsutsuki God all over the whole entire page and shit like that. So that real cool scene with both Code and Ishiki, we understand that Code is to inherit the Otsutsuki will, but that is basically what Ishiki wants Code to do, go around devouring all of these chakra fruits and ultimately turning into this Otsutsuki God. So we have that was missing from what was supposed to be in the last manga canon episode. Just mere fact, I'm saying what was supposed to, because we already have the Hokage summit that took place after the Ishiki battle and Boruto taking those pills, and both of those things take place in chapter 57 and 58. So the things I'm talking about are still occurring in chapter 55 that we didn't even get yet, and in chapter 56 where we have Amado basically reveal Code being the last inner member. We saw that in the anime as well, obviously under different circumstances, but essentially in the manga we have Code being talked about and explained to Naruto and Sasuke by Amado, while simultaneously watching Code infiltrate Boruto's hideout and basically debut his moves, debut his fighting style. When that chapter first came out, everybody was in a frenzy. Niggas was talking about this nigga Code is crazy. I was on the Code hype train a little bit. I ain't even finna cap to y'all, bro. But we basically have that, and then he eventually comes across where we see Ada and Damon, not only in the opening, but in a promotional picture. So it's not too much of a spoiler to even just know their names. But these characters' introduction also happens simultaneously, all back-to-back chapters. So Boruto anime has a whole lot to pick up. Now, they left off in a tricky spot to where they have to do these things that take place in chapter 56 and 57, essentially Code making his way to the land of snow and Code ultimately freeing Ada. Now, based off the titles claw marks and the titles captives for episode 288, we can basically draw the idea, I can draw the idea that in episode 287 they intend to just pick up on where they left off with Code, basically double down on, we know that he has a white karma. That's literally right where they left us off at in the anime, and his conversation with Ishiki. So picking up on that conversation, what did Code ultimately do after having that conversation with Ishiki and leading up to Code going into the land of snow and ultimately making his move to Ada in order to free her, leading into the episode 288 title Captors. And that, just the title itself goes along with Ada's character, her powers. For those of y'all who do read the manga, you will understand why all of that just makes sense there. So episode 287 is something I'm really looking forward to, just based off of, once we get the summary for this episode, then I'll have a real general idea. But essentially what to expect in that episode, like I said, expect to see Code and making his way into the land of snow, finding Boro's hideout, doubling down on Ishiki and Code's conversation, seeing that introduction of the Otsutsuki god with all of the Jogans around him as well, and as well as seeing the start of the introduction to Ada and the debut of Code and his fighting style, because all of this stuff takes place before the Hokage summit. Yet we already had the Hokage. We already had the 5 Kage summit taking place, yet we didn't get any of these things that happened with Code. So I'm really excited, and I'm gonna say like I'm completely like have my high hopes up, but I'm not as disappointed now that I see the title for episode 287. I'm waiting for the summary to drop so we can have a better understanding, but just for the mere fact of the title being called Claw Marks, right? So there's a whole lot of things that they can do with that, because we understand Code starts his assault on all 5 of the great ninja villages, and they mention that in the manga as well. So there's a lot that they can do with this, not just doubling down on the fact that Code making his way into the land of snow, but also seeing how Code manages to place his claw marks in key markers and key spots in all of the 5 great nations and 5 great villages, and how they have teams or squadrons or ambush all surveying and watching the claw marks, trying to track Code and do things of that nature. But still, in episode 287, they have to do a whole lot of stuff before they even get to that, because even when they get to that point, we get a whole little conversation with Shikamaru and Amato drops the bombshell. It's been officially 6 months since the defeat of this nigga Ishiki Otsutsuki. So essentially 6 months since we've seen Ishiki talk to Code in that whole little afterlife form that he popped up out of his karma seal. It took from 6 months to get from that point all the way get to the land of snow and actually find Ada and her body and ultimately release her. All in all though, I'm excited. We got the episode provisional titles for 287 to 289. I'm looking forward to the summaries, but stay tuned. More videos coming your way. I'm excited for the Code arc. Let's get it. It's your boy Black Child. I'm gonna holla at y'all. Black Child, yes sir. Ski.
We take a trip to the sky, show them that our limits too high. Cocoa butter hips on the west side. She said